Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the complexity and give you, well, actionable knowledge. Today, we're looking at a really strategic role, the Real Estate Project Manager, or REPM. Think hard hats, but also spreadsheets.
Absolutely. And it's crucial to grasp right away, this isn't just about overseeing construction sites. The RAPM is really the strategic lead for the whole investment lifecycle.
Okay, so like from the absolute start.
Exactly. From the initial idea, maybe land acquisition, getting financing sorted, then design, permits, all that bureaucracy, then construction, and finally handing over the keys. They're basically the chief risk officer for a massive asset.
Got it. And for our deep dive today, we're using a pretty cool approach. We've got this big list of common REPM interview questions. We're basically mining these questions to pull out the most vital skills and knowledge needed to really succeed here.
Yeah, the mission is to get past just the job title and into the actual mindset. How do the best REPMs show deep expertise? Sure, but also real leadership. And maybe most importantly, how do they make those tough, high-stakes decisions when the pressure's on?
So we'll track the project lifecycle, laying the foundation, managing the execution phase, budget, risk, and dealing with all the different people involved. Let's start at square one.
Right, so managing a project from inception to completion, that's a common phrase, but what does it really mean? It's basically a 5-stage journey. You've got land acquisition, getting approvals, coordinating the design, managing the build itself, and then the final handover. You need fluency in all 5.
Wow, okay. That complexity jumps out immediately. Like your example of a mixed-use project, commercial and residential together. You're working with architects, engineers. They're focused on design function.
Right, but the REPM, they're the one making sure those cool designs actually meet zoning laws and, critically, the client's financial goals or the investor's expected return.
And it sounds like a ton of work happens even before you get architects drawing things up.
Oh, absolutely. The real groundwork is legal and financial. That's where things like feasibility studies and market analyses are non-negotiable.
So that's just crunching numbers, looking at data.
It is, but it's very focused data. You're digging into local demographics, economic trends, what similar properties are doing, construction cost estimates, all to figure out fundamentally, does this project make sense financially? What's the potential ROI? If the numbers don't stack up at this stage, well, the project often just stops right there.
Okay, so you've got a viable project. Then comes what I hear is a huge hurdle, permits and approvals.
The bureaucratic maze. It can be incredibly complex and honestly slow. You need almost encyclopedic knowledge of local rules, zoning, building codes, environmental regs.
Sounds daunting.
It is, but the really sharp managers know it's not just about the rules on paper. It's about relationships, building professional connections with the folks in local authorities. That can smooth the path, prevent delays, stop roadblocks before you've even broken ground.
So less about just knowing the code, more about navigating the system and the people.
Precisely. It's strategic engagement, really.
Okay, let's shift gears. The big one, keeping the project on schedule and within budget. This feels like the core challenge, where the rubber meets the road.
It really is. And the strategy the sources point to is, well, rigorous. It starts with a bulletproof project plan. Scope, timeline, resources, costs, everything detailed, and importantly, developed with the key stakeholders, so everyone's bought in.
And technology plays a big part here, right, for tracking progress and costs. I saw mentions of specific software.
Oh, essential. Tools like Microsoft Project or Asana are great for schedules and tasks, but for budgets, you often need specialized construction finance software like Procore or maybe Buildertrend. They let you tie purchasing directly to the budget line items.
So you see problems faster.
Exactly. You need constant, almost real-time monitoring of spending and how resources are being used. Top REPMs aren't waiting for a monthly report. They're spotting small overruns immediately. That lets them take corrective action before a little issue snowballs into a major financial problem.
Which naturally leads us to risk. Managing the unavoidable stuff, handling crises. How do you plan for risk in a field with so many variables?
Risk management has to start way back in the planning phase. You sit down and brainstorm what could go wrong. Market shifts, maybe interest rates spike, new regulations pop up, supply chain issues delaying materials, construction delays themselves.
Okay, so you identify them. Then what?
Then you develop contingency plans for each major risk. That might mean locking in material prices early or maybe having backup financing options ready just in case.
But sometimes the worst does happen. A big delay, a major cost overrun. What's the playbook then?
The absolute first step has to be transparency. Immediate, clear communication. You can't sugarcoat bad news. Tell the client, the contractors, the consultants exactly what's happening and what the impact is on time, on money.
That must be tough.
It is. But then, right after that transparency, you need swift action. Reevaluate everything. What resources are left? Where can we find savings? How do we mitigate the damage? It's about maintaining trust while fixing the problem.
And speaking of turbulence, change orders. They seem unavoidable in real estate, but everyone knows they can kill budgets and schedules.
They definitely can. And honestly, how change orders are handled is often a good sign of whether a project is healthy or struggling. The effective way. It needs to be standardized, almost unemotional. First, quick communication to everyone affected: client, architect, contractor. Second, meticulous documentation. What's the change? What's the exact impact on cost and schedule? No guesswork. Third, a clear, pre-agreed decision process. Get the okay based on the facts before anyone starts the extra work. The REPM has to make sure this process flows, doesn't become another bottleneck itself.
Right, makes sense.
Now, shifting focus a bit. A huge part of the REPM's value is coordination. Not just managing tasks, but managing people. People with very different priorities.
The human element. That sounds incredibly complex. How do you coordinate architects, contractors, consultants, clients, when they're all kind of pulling in different directions?
Structure is key. You establish clear processes and ground rules right from the start. Kickoff meetings are vital for this. Then you use those project management tools we talked about, but specifically to track dependencies. Who needs what from whom? Identify those potential log jams early.
And it's about balancing needs too, right?
Absolutely. You might have investors laser focused on ROI and speed, but then maybe a community group is worried about construction noise or environmental impact. The REPM has to find ways to bridge those gaps.
So lots of mediation, facilitating discussions, finding compromises.
Constantly. Which brings us straight to another critical skill.
Yeah.
Negotiation. Real financial finesse.
Yeah, the source material had a great example. A manager cutting project costs by 15%. How did they pull that off?
Well, it wasn't just haggling over prices, it was more strategic. They identified some high-cost, maybe non-essential features perhaps, swapping out imported marble for a really high-quality domestic alternative. Then, because they could commit to buying certain materials in bulk, they negotiated better prices with the suppliers. It's about finding savings without compromising the core project quality or function. Smart value engineering, essentially.
Let's pivot now to some of the newer demands and specialized projects. Sustainability, for instance, that's not just a buzzword anymore.
Definitely not. Clients and regulations increasingly demand experience with sustainable practices, green certifications like LD. This adds another layer of complexity for the REPM.
How so?
You have to weave sustainability into design choices from day one. Think high-efficiency HVAC, responsibly sourced materials. Then you need to monitor things like energy targets and waste management during the actual construction. It's a whole separate tracking system almost.
And alongside that, safety, another non-negotiable. What's the REPM's role beyond, putting up signs?
Safety has to be part of the culture, driven from the top. It means building safety protocols into the plan itself. It means ongoing training, regular safety meetings, daily or weekly toolbox talks, and constant vigilance on site to ensure everyone's following the rules. A project's safety record really speaks volumes about the management.
And this is where leadership gets really tested, I imagine. Finding an unexpected hazard, like discovering asbestos during a renovation.
That's an immediate all-stop situation. Emergency. The REPM's job is clear. Safety and compliance first. Halt work in that area. Bring in licensed environmental experts immediately to assess. Then, ensure only certified crews handle the removal, following every single regulation to letter. Schedule and budget take a back seat when hazardous materials appear. The financial hit is often huge, but there's no alternative.
And that adaptability is needed elsewhere too, like with tenant improvement projects. It's not always building from scratch.
Exactly. Renovating, say, 10,000 square feet of existing office space for a new tech company, that's a different beast. You're balancing the tenant's specific needs, their workflow, their brand, with the building's existing structure, its codes, and often keeping other tenants happy while construction happens. Very different constraints than a new build.
So we've established that REPM is juggling a lot, often multiple projects at once. How do you possibly stay in control managing several big developments simultaneously?
Prioritization has to be strategic, starting at the company level. You have to assess which project contributes most to the firm's overall goals. Is it revenue potential? A key client relationship? Alignment with future plans? Resources get allocated based on that strategic importance, not just who's making the most noise.
So once you know the priorities, then you build the detailed schedules and figure out who works on what.
Precisely. And that often involves some careful internal negotiation, making sure your best people are on the highest priority jobs without burning them out. And inevitably, you face tough decisions. There's a really stark example in the sources.
Ah, yes, the structural design flaw found mid-construction.
Right. A major flaw in a mixed-use project, already partly built. Fixing it meant a massive redesign, maybe 8 months of delay, a huge hit.
And the decision was pretty brutal.
It was. They opted to basically cut their losses on the flawed part, abandon the original multi-use plan for that section, and quickly proceed with just a smaller retail-only component on the structurally sound part of the site.
Wow, that highlights a painful reality, doesn't it?
It really does. Sometimes speed, budget control, and just mitigating further risk have to win out over delivering the original vision, especially if that vision proved flawed. Preserving capital becomes the priority. Understood. So finally, the project's done, keys are handed over. How do you measure if it was actually a success? How does the REPM demonstrate value? You really need to look at it from two angles: quantitative and qualitative. Quantitatively, it's the hard numbers. Did we stick to the budget? Did we meet the schedule? What's the actual ROI looking like now that it's operating?
And are there specific metrics, KPIs, that are standard? You mentioned the Budget Performance Index earlier.
Yeah, KPIs are critical. Schedule variance is a big one, obviously. The Budget Performance Index, or BPI, is key too. It compares what you've actually spent against what you plan to spend for the work done so far. If your BPI is consistently under 1.0, you're over budget for the progress made. Good managers watch that like a hawk, maybe setting alerts if it dips below, say, 0.95.
Okay, that covers the numbers. What about the qualitative side?
That's about the less tangible, but arguably just as important stuff. Tenant satisfaction. Are the people using the space happy? Community impact. How did the project affect the neighborhood? Functionality. Aesthetics. Did it turn out to be a good building in practice? A project can hit its budget targets, but still be a failure if the end users hate it.
So pulling all these threads together, if you had to synthesize the biggest lessons learned that top RAPMs take away from their experiences.
Looking across the sources, two things really stand out. First, the absolute unavoidable necessity of constant effective communication and collaboration with everyone: clients, designers, builders, authorities. And second, the profound importance of robust risk management and contingency planning up front. Things will go wrong. Being prepared is everything.
It really underscores the sheer breadth of this role. It's this unique mix of legal know-how, sharp financial management, deep construction understanding, and maybe above all, just really strong people skills. It sounds incredibly demanding.
It is, and that's why continuous learning is vital too. You can't rest on your laurels. Staying current means going to industry conferences, reading the trade publications, being active in professional groups. Technology, materials, regulations, they're always changing. You have to keep up.
Okay, so final thought for our listeners. We've talked about the pressure of making huge financial trade-offs, like sacrificing part of a project design to save time and money. And we've talked about the need for radical adaptability when, say, hazardous materials suddenly appear. Considering all that, which skill do you think is ultimately more valuable for a top REPM? That proactive, tight financial control, or the ability to react and adapt decisively when everything unexpectedly hits the fan? Something to think about until our next